If you're diabetic, this video was made for you. We're gonna walk around the grocery store and show you what foods you should be eating to help regulate your blood sugars in 2025. In fact, I've been wearing this CGM recently to track how the foods we're gonna talk about today affect my blood sugars. And of course, everybody's body is different. But I think you're gonna find the results very interesting when it comes to breads, pasta, yogurts, and breakfast items. And remember, I am not a doctor and I don't even play one on YouTube, but there is plenty of science to back up the stuff we're gonna talk about today. Let's get to work. Unfortunately, the typical American breakfast is not very friendly to diabetics. It's full of refined carbs, starch bombs, and sugary items that will spike your glucose levels. This is what a typical American breakfast looks like. Eggs, a couple pieces of toast, jam, coffee, and sugar. And this is what happened to my glucose levels. You saw a pretty decent rise in my blood sugars. The next day, I had a lower carb breakfast. I swapped out the toast with low carb keto bread. I used a low sugar jelly and I sweetened my coffee with stevia instead of sugar. And this is what happened to my blood sugar. So why making a couple swaps did my blood sugar have such a difference? Let's break it down starting with the bread. You're gonna wanna eat high fiber, whole grain bread or low carb bread. But I find it a little bit disturbing that when you Google best breads for diabetics, multiple websites will tell you to eat something like this. And yes, it is whole grain, but I always look at the other ingredients to see what they're gonna do to our body. And the sugar's pretty high up there in the ingredients list. And one slice has 2 grams of added sugar. Half a teaspoon of cane sugar per slice is not ideal. And yes, it does have 2 grams of fiber, but it also has soybean oil, natural flavors, and stuff you don't want in your body. You want high fiber, whole grain, clean breads. Well, we probably all know about this one, right? Ezekiel is the OG of high fiber sprouted grain breads. They actually put on here that it is low glycemic friendly. Why? Because it has a whopping 3 grams of fiber per slice and is nothing but sprouted whole grains. Unbelievable. Are you an ALDI shopper? Because they have a sprouted whole grain bread here. And yes, it does have 1 gram of sugar, but that's honey in here. It also has 3 grams of fiber. So there's a big difference between the fiber in these breads. Yes, it's more, but it's whole grain quality compared to the one the internet tells us to eat. So I'll put a list of my favorite high fiber whole grain breads down below. Those are 2 of just my favorites. But I think you probably really want to go low carb bread if you're trying to control your glucose levels. This is the keto bread I will eat at home, and the same one that I ate for the keto breakfast when I showed you the very low to no rise in my blood sugar. It's base culture bread. Why do I like it? Well, one slice only has 5 net carbs, but a whopping 3 grams of fiber with a perfect ingredient list. And yes, you will get the same effect with these 2 low carb, 1 gram of net carb breads, but I don't like them as much because the ingredients aren't really that clean. You'll see seed oils here and you'll see natural flavoring. Yes, they will not spike your glucose, but I'm looking for a clean low carb bread also. For a full list of best and worst breads, not only will I type it down below for you, but I had a video that dropped last week that broke down 20 of the most popular lows from the grocery store. I'll link to that here. But remember, for diabetics, either high fiber whole grain whole wheat bread or low carb clean keto bread. When you're looking for something to sweeten your cup of coffee, obviously cane sugar is out, but even my beloved coconut sugar would be out too, which is what I use to sweeten my cup of coffee. I just couldn't drive myself to use real cane sugar because it's slightly lower on the glycemic index, but it still will spike your blood sugar a decent amount. So you want to stick with the sugar substitutes, but the good ones. The stevias, the monk fruits, the erythritol is even fine in limited quantities, but it's really, really tricky when we move over here and we start to pick up stevia in the raw. Well, okay, great. What if I break out the Bobby approved app? Stevia is good, right? Well, no, this stevia is not good because the first darn ingredient is dextrose. Dextrose is sugar, and there's less than 1 gram of added sugar per, but the packet is 1 gram in general. You're buying stevia, but the first ingredient is dextrose sugar. Really bad. So what you want to do is get pure stevia powder. This is great, very sweet. All you need is a skosh. What I used in my coffee for the Bobby approved breakfast day was literally 1 drop of pure liquid stevia. They don't have it here, but pure monk fruit is nice too. Stuff like this is a combination of monk fruit and erythritol, and it's a 1-to-1 swap for cane sugar. So if you wanted to make a keto or low carb cake or muffin, if your recipe calls for a cup of sugar, use a cup of this. That's the good Bobby approved swaps if you want something that's more diabetic friendly. And because things are really, really tricky, always scan it with the free Bobby approved app. It will highlight bad ingredients, tell you why they're bad, and give you a better recommendation. It's like having me go shopping with you, and it's free. It's on Google Play, it's on Apple App Store. Download it. Jams and jellies inherently have sugar, but there's a big difference between the one I used for the typical American breakfast and the one that I used for the lower sugar one. The difference is a lot of sugar. So this is a typical jam or preserve that most people use. But when we break down how much sugar is used here, a serving of 1 tablespoon has 12 grams of added brown sugar and cane sugar. 12 grams is a tablespoon. So a tablespoon serving has a tablespoon of sugar. A lot. I used a tablespoon on my toast, right? But if I go down here, the amount of sugar is 5 grams. That's a 7-gram difference in sugar. This is fruit juice concentrate. Both will still spike your blood sugar equally, but I prefer a natural sweetener like fruit juice as opposed to cane sugar. So both are sugars and going to affect our glucose levels similar, but in the exact tablespoon to tablespoon comparison, this one had 7 grams of sugar less, which is about 2 teaspoons, which adds up quickly. We'll take a super quick break from the video because Birch Living, who make the Birch organic mattresses that are in every room in the house, wanted to sponsor this video. My link down below gets you 25% off your mattress of choice and 2 free pillows. I came across Birch about 5 years ago because when you learn about what most mattresses are made of, the materials, the glues, the adhesives, they're unfortunately toxic and they off gas over time. And when you're sleeping, preferably 7 to 9 hours a night, you don't want that. Birch Organic Mattress doesn't have the materials that will off gas. And most importantly, it's really comfortable. You order online, they ship it to your house, and it's a cinch to set up. They have a 25-year warranty and a 100-night sleep trial, and it's made with 5 simple materials. It is awesome. My link down below, 25% off your mattress of choice and 2 free pillows. But you hear me talk about this. Upgrade to the organic pillow. I love this pillow so much. Whenever I travel, I stuff it in my suitcase because I hate the fluffy feather pillows at hotels. Your neck just sinks to and you wake up with a kinked neck. This is awesome. So if you're in the market, check it out, birchliving.com/Bobby. You'll notice for the low carb breakfast, I put a little steak, some leftover steak on the plate. Why? Protein. Protein really matters for a bunch of reasons, but you don't have to get steak. Let's say you had 3 ounces of lean ground beef. Well, look at this. 4 ounces has 25 grams of protein, which means my 3-ounce portion would have just over 18 grams of protein on that breakfast plate coming from the beef. Why is that important? Gosh, so many reasons. Number 1, protein satiates your hunger for a long time. It helps build your muscles, recover your muscles, boost your metabolism. But protein, for diabetics, does something really similar to fiber. It holds back the sugars and releases them slower into your bloodstream, making for a much more gradual glucose rise in your body. So you get your protein from the beef, maybe a little bit of fiber from the bread, you're rocking and rolling, my friends. And since we're talking about protein, both of my breakfasts had eggs. Eggs are a great way to get protein. 2 eggs, if you just look right there, will have 12 grams of protein, 6 grams in each egg. So if you combine that 12 grams of protein with the 18 grams of protein I had from the beef, you're talking about 30 G of protein just in breakfast alone, which once again will satiate my hunger and have that slower release of the blood sugars. I oftentimes joke that yogurt is a dessert pretending to be something healthy, because the truth is you can pick up 90% of yogurts at any grocery store And look at the amount of sugar in here. This is a Greek raspberry. Cane sugar is pretty high up in the ingredient list. And this tiny cup has 9 grams of added sugar. Yes, that's bad for glucose levels in general, but the funny thing is, and by funny I mean scary, yogurt is supposed to be a fermented gut-friendly food. When you have 9 grams of cane sugar, what does that do? It actually kills your gut bacteria. So what do we do if you want the lowest natural sugar yogurt? Greek style or strained or skyr yogurt is what you want. And I'm gonna show you a really interesting comparison here. So this is Greek style whole milk yogurt. This is just regular strained yogurt. The Greek style in a 3/4 cup serving has 4 grams of natural sugar, but the regular non-strained yogurt in a 3/4 cup serving has 6 grams of added sugar. Why the difference? Because Greek style is strained. This is not. When you strain yogurt, you reduce some of the natural lactose, which is the sugar, and you increase the protein. So the Greek style also has 16 grams of protein. The non-strain has 6. 10 extra grams of protein and 2 grams less of natural sugar. Win-win. In addition to Greek, any strained yogurt's gonna work. This is Icelandic skyr strained yogurt, and a serving has 17 grams of protein and 6 grams of natural sugar. So slightly more sugar, but slightly more protein. Bottom line is you want strained yogurt, you don't want flavored. And yes, there are some flavored yogurts on the market that are sweetened with stevia, but it's usually lower quality dairy and natural flavors. So I would take one of those I just showed you, sweeten it yourself with stevia or monk fruit. Speaking of protein, what am I drinking right now? I'm drinking the Flav City Vanilla Protein Smoothie. Check this out. Look at that texture. It is so creamy and delicious, and this is my lowest carb option. It's not protein powder. It's a protein powder smoothie. So in here is, yes, whey protein from grass-fed cows, but also grass-fed collagen, bananas, coconut milk, functional mushrooms, and more. This could be a meal replacement. The vanilla has 7 net carbs. The vanilla latte has 9 net carbs. They are a delicious way to get clean protein that will satiate your hunger. You can get single serves on shopflavcity.com and mix and match. If you want to eat pasta on a diabetic-friendly diet, traditional pasta is out, but I have 2 options for you that are much better for you. Who knew that Rayo's made pasta? But all of these pastas on the wall here are made of just simple wheat, which only has 2 grams of fiber per serving, but 42 grams of carbs. These are simple carbs without much fiber that will spike your glucose. So this is not something you want. And when I made this pasta with a simple red meat sauce and ate a bowl of it, this is what happened to my glucose. I had a pretty decent rise in there. So what's the best option you can do? At least one of them is pastas made of high fiber, high protein ingredients like red lentil spaghetti or chickpea shells. Why is this so darn cool? Well, I just said a minute ago, simple carbohydrate pasta barely has any fiber. Well, check this out. This is chickpea shells. A serving has 8 grams of fiber and 12 grams of protein. Whoa, that's an immense amount of protein and fiber. I've had this red lentil spaghetti before. It's delicious. A 2-ounce serving, which is tiny, has 6 grams of fiber, of which 3 are soluble, and 15 grams of protein. Now we're getting in the diabetic ballpark. Why? Because yes, there still is some carbs in here, but that amount of fiber and that amount of protein, it's gonna slow the release of the glucose into your blood, right? And you get the combination of the fiber. We talk about fiber in this video quite a bit and the benefits of it. Well, fiber-rich foods are also something called a prebiotic. We know about probiotics. Prebiotic foods high in fiber feed your gut bacteria and help your microbiome. So you're getting such a benefit from the fiber for your gut and for your bloodstream. 2 awesome choices right here. And what happened when I went home and I had a dinner of lentil pasta with red sauce, this happened to my blood sugar. It wasn't as much of a rise, and it was a much more diabetic-friendly option. Now, these are incredibly low carb. This is palmini made of hearts of palm. This is konjac, miracle noodles made of konjac flour. This is probably your best bet when it comes to truly diabetic-friendly pasta. Why? Because I like these. These konjac noodles in a serving have 1 net carb and 2 grams of fiber. The palmini hearts of palm has 2 net carbs and 2 grams of fiber. So when I made miracle noodles with the red meat sauce, this is what happened to my blood sugar. Basically no rise at all. This is going to be the most diabetic friendly option on the market. Your next best option would be the high protein, high fiber legume pastas, and I would stay away from your traditional pastas made of wheat. If you want to eat some rice, well, everything we just talked about pasta pretty much applies to rice also, meaning your basic white rice is out. Why? Because do you realize that white rice used to be like a whole grain brown rice, but then they stripped away all the fiber and the hull, everything that made it nutritious, and it's just a pure starch at that point, which is why a serving literally has 0 grams of fiber. So white rice is unfortunately out. A slightly better, but still not great alternative is the brown rice, because it has the hull and the fiber there, and a serving has 1 gram of fiber, but still too much starch for a diabetic. There is this resistant starch theory that's been going around for years on the internet that says if you made rice the day before, put it in the fridge overnight, and then reheat it the next day, the starch molecules change and it won't affect your blood sugar as much. There's a lot of controversy about that. I mean, leave a comment down below. What do you think about it? I'm not too convinced about it. But if you want rice, real rice, your best option is not basmati, jasmine, white. It's wild and crazy rice. It's wild rice. Take a look at this. This is about as complex of a carb as you can get. And the macros back it up, because a serving of this has 2 grams of fiber and 5 grams of protein. Now, it still does have 34 grams of carbs there, but you're getting a decent amount of protein and fiber. Not gonna spike your glucose as much, but it's still not perfect. If you're gonna eat rice, probably your best option is gonna be the alternatives, right? Cauliflower rice, shirataki rice, hearts of palm rice. It's just a really big difference, because a serving of frozen cauliflower rice, golly, 4 carbs, 2 grams of fiber. 4 minus 2, 2 net carbs, 2 grams of fiber. Let's come back to what we keep talking about in this video. Fiber is so important, yes, for glucose regulation in your body, but fiber is also amazing for your gut and your microbiome. So you're doing yourself a world of good by eating high fiber, low carb foods. I know it's not quite the same. So if you do want to splurge here and there, wild rice is far superior to brown and white, but on a more regular basis, the alternatives like cauliflower rice is where you're going to want to live. So if you're diabetic and you're looking for the best foods to eat at the grocery store this year and pretty much always, there's your list. If you want to see more diabetic or low carb themed videos, leave a comment down below, and do not forget to subscribe, my friends. We are publishing 4 to 6 videos like this every single month, and you're not gonna wanna miss out. But from my favorite place, the grocery store, I leave you like I always do. #keep on cooking, mad love, and peace. Bye-bye.